I was really like, did anyone believe in aliens? No. Okay, next topic. Let's go.
Literally.
Spoiler alert. All right, guys, welcome to The Last Resorts. Welcome to Project Potter. My name is Kyle, your host. This is a new show we're doing, pilot episode. It's a conversation on podcast. I'm joined here by Victor, by Garrett, by Nigel, again, according to my screen here. So we're all gonna have a topic. We're all gonna bring it to the table there. We're not gonna tell each other about the topic beforehand, kind of put that shock and awe in there, as Vic likes to say. So I'm just gonna go first here, guys. The reason I bring this up, I did have an experience, so to speak, as a child there. So two-part question. One, do you believe in aliens or extraterrestrial life in there? And number two, have you had an experience like that, or is there any evidence to go there? So I say this because as a child, and again, this may have been my neighbor walking his dog, anything like that, but I specifically remember like what I thought were to be aliens, and child's imagination goes very far. So, you know, some kid will watch like Cat Dog and think like that's the real world. So, like I specifically remember looking out my window as a young kid and like being like, those are aliens walking down the street, and then they like zipped away. Now, again, I was a kid. I don't remember how old I was. Who knows? It could have been like a dream and I thought it was real, but I've kind of always believed in aliens since that moment. And that moment always kind of comes up in my brain. Obviously, like the government has released documents, which, you know, who knows how much validity is there, but yeah, that's kind of my experience with it. Do you guys one, believe in aliens or out like extraterrestrial life? And then two, like just kind of your thoughts, or do you have any experiences like that?
So I believe in them, not in this solar system, as we've discussed previously on different occasions. I think they exist. I just don't think they have any interest in coming here. I don't think we have any substantial evidence that they have come here. I think if they're out there, they're far away. There's definitely going to be life out there somewhere. There's no way it's just us, but haven't had any instances where I've run into them, but I definitely think that there's life somewhere. Even
you
if
didn't run into
like
one at like a Starbucks?
Yeah. Oh, well, those are different types of aliens.
What about you, Nigel?
Yeah, I mean, for me, they definitely exist. They're definitely out there. As we know, we're MCU guys, so I'm not talking about Thanos and shit like that, but who knows? It's definitely out there. Have they visited here? Yes. Do they have any reason to stay here? No. We don't have the technology to ever visit them, so I'm not really concerned about them. I mean, end of the day, we know the government's been covering stuff up. We know I don't like the government at all. So they're going to keep the reality from us and just feed us bullshit and keep us quiet for the time being. But yeah, I mean, it definitely exists, but whatever. I'm cool with it. Come and hang out. We'll get a lift in, record a podcast. Who knows?
Yeah, so I'm very much like Vic. I think it's definitely, you know, they've been here and stuff like that, but I don't think we're as, you know, central on the map as everyone makes out to be in all these movies and everything like that. We're just a passing stop, you know. You just go by, and anything that has been found or anything like that, that's literally that's someone just taking sightseeing photos from like way afar, and everyone takes a picture of that, you know. You're taking a picture of a tourist. So I don't think we just blow it way out of proportion. So, and no, I haven't had any experiences like that, Kyle. But are you okay? Do you need to talk about it more?
I'm not saying I had like an out-of-box experience or anything like that. I just, for whatever reason, it's a memory. And again, like I said, kids' memories and kids' imaginations run wild. Like, I mean, Vic, you're a father, so you know that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
But it's like, yeah, so maybe it's just something I held on to, and I'm like, you know, it was just all bullshit. But I think we mentioned this kind of off camera. Vic, you said like we can't travel, or we don't have the ability to travel to like other solar systems yet. And like, I think that's a big part of what's holding us back, where it's like, yeah, it sucks because we can't go to, like, we can't even get to Mars right now. It's like, you know, Elon Musk would tell you differently, at least trying his best, but it's like, it takes us so long with the current technology that we have just to get to like Mars, that it's like, how are we going to explore the rest of the universe if it's so big, if we can't even, like, first of all, no one thinks that the moon landing was fake, right?
No,
it was real.
Okay, I was gonna say, so that's,
right,
Gary, you're a little iffy on that?
I don't think it's long enough ago for people to not have like witnessed it.
I think the moon landing has happened. If it happened exactly when they said it happened back in the 60s?
69, I believe.
Is it really that early?
That could be up for debate. that one could have been up for debate because they easily could have disguised that. And that's, I think that's before the Cold War. It still was like an arms race. It was
Yeah,
like
with
which
Russia,
government could
Mm.
make it to the moon and flex their nuts and all that stuff. So I think that one, there's a chance it could have been faked, but in the time since then, I think multiple countries have landed on the moon.
They pick up a rock and they're like, "This is a moon rock," and you're like, "Are you sure?" It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I agree. But yeah, it's just crazy. Space is like one of my favorite topics. So like I love Interstellar, like one of my favorite all-time movies. So I love shit like that. And I love like black holes. Whenever you read an article where it's like a black hole is like if you go like in Interstellar, they like hold the paper up and they're like, we can't go, it's too long if we go around it, so we have to go through it. And it's like they have to like bend time and space and shit. And like we saw even like a little bit MCU, we saw that in, like Doctor Strange and shit. And
The
it's like,
quantum realm.
yeah,
Mhm.
no, seriously, not to tie it back to Reviewers Assemble, but like that stuff, like I can't read articles like that because like it just breaks my brain because I'm like I'm reading the words and I'm like I don't understand what you're saying, but it's super fascinating to me. So
Yeah.
like maybe this is more about space and aliens, but I just love that shit. So
For sure.
yeah, I
Cool.
think we're all in agreement. So don't need to spend too much time on that. So yeah, like I said, we got 4 topics. So anybody want to kick it off with topic number 2?
Yeah, I'll fire one off for you. So if
What is
there is
that?
only to exist one major sport, only plays during its specific season, like football is, September to February, which one would you want to exist and why? And no soccer, just because we'd be picking which one of the leagues. So major sports, NBA, MLB, NFL, and NHL. What do you guys think?
I'm going to go NBA because it spans from October to June, takes up a good part of the year. You get the summers off, which is probably the best time of year to not focus on a sport. And basically, it's got a great shock and awe factor. The NFL is definitely the best league, but you can only play one game a week, or at least your favorite team can only play one game a week, and that's
Yeah.
limited content. Whereas NHL and an NBA, you can get 3 to 4 games a week. Problem I have with the NHL is it locks out more than any other league. So I can't trust them. I can't trust their commissioner. Their players and ownership never seem to get along. So there's just too many issues going on there. So I'll go with the NBA. I think it makes better headlines.
Cool. Yeah, I'm with Garrett, and I was trying to think about it the other day because you watch like what happened last night with James Harden going to the Nets. Now he's playing with Harden and Durant. It's like you don't see that shit in the NFL as much. Like you don't see the big name receivers get moved. Like Stephon Diggs, I think they traded him for like a 3rd rounder, like something wild like that. So you don't see that very often. And Diggs really wasn't as big of a name. Like I'm a Vikings guy, so I was high on him, but like a Julio, Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins was one, but you don't see it as often as you do in the NBA. And that's my biggest thing. But I'll tell you right now, you could ask me in 2 years from now, and the way the NBA is trending with the players owned in the league, I could be leaning towards NFL.
Hey, low key, Vic, that's a different discussion, but let's not talk about Diggs being way underrated on that trade. Every league I picked him up on, everyone this year was just like, what are you picking Diggs up for? I'm like, watch what fucking happens.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's
that's
nasty. I've loved him.
ridiculous.
To be fair, before this season, I don't think anyone expected him to pop off like he did in Buffalo as much as he did. I think we all knew he was going to be good, but like didn't he lead the league in like catches and like he obliterated the league?
He ended up, the number 3 receiver, right?
Yeah, I don't think anyone expected him to be that good though. Like good, but not great.
I think that he would be. You just need to get him out of a system that had so many other options outside of that. I mean, and big options. Because Thielen, great. You got Dalvin Cook, like, come on, like there's so many places that ball can go. That's not him. And he's such a good, route runner and stuff like that. But like people will cover him as the number 1, knowing that Thielen's going to be open, but you gotta knock someone down. He just has so much playability after the catch. So
Nigel, do you lean towards NFL then?
So that's contingent on 2 things. One, is there are we sticking with 16 games and that's where it ends, like forever?
It's the exact season they play now.
Schedule,
Nothing
right?
changes. So the rest of the year, there's no other sports.
Okay. So, and then are you able to do college ball too, or just
We're just
professional?
basing off the NFL because
Just professional,
Pro
okay.
it could change things for me.
So that's what makes it. So I want to lean NFL just because you're right. You're totally right. There's not these big, huge trades. You don't get this weird stuff. Like everyone freaked out about the DeAndre Hopkins trade this year because it was so ludicrous and ridiculous. But that's because it didn't happen like that. It doesn't happen like that ever. You know, you don't get some weird ass trade like that to try and remake two teams like you did this year with the NBA. You get multiple teams that get that kind of situation going on. So yeah, I can't lean the NFL even though I want to, but you guys make great points where you get these big trades, you get these super teams created in literally one season, you know? And it's like, and on top of that, like Garrett said, if I'm going to give up a time when I'm going to watch something, I want to watch something when I'm stuck inside by a TV for the winter, you know? So
cool. I bet Kyle goes NHL.
No, the Bruins are on at the time of this recording, and like I'm watching the intermission and stuff, and it's fun, but again, it's a 1-0 game, and it's like typical Bruins where I don't know. I'm not very high on the Bruins right now, but I love hockey in person. This is like a strange. I'm glad you asked this question, Vic, because it's a strange like if all the other sports just like snapped. Like I don't want to bring it back to MCU, but like if all the other sports were just gone and like you had to pick one sport, I have to go NBA. I mean, I love NBA the most. Like I have all the sports I like. I mean, we grew up, like all of us here, like we grew up 20 years of like Brady dominance, and like I love the NFL, and I still really like the NFL, and I'm super excited for like this weekend's playoff games. But like the NBA, like you said, Garrett, like 3 or 4 times a week, you're getting your favorite players, you're getting your favorite teams. You know, this is obviously like barring let's say COVID is gone in this universe, like normal schedule, normal players, everyone's healthy. Like just the NBA to me, I agree with you, Vic, where I don't like that it's a players driven league where it's like, I mean, LeBron has like run out every coach basically, like poor Ty Lue, like completely just like ran him out of a job in Cleveland. And like,
Ty Lue's the least of his worries. David Blatt should have the most.
David Blatt, yeah. That's
right.
like,
does he go to a game 7 and then gets fired?
Goes to a game 7 of the NBA finals and they're just like, you know what, we don't really like you.
Yeah,
and he's
LeBron didn't like him.
He's a Boston guy. He's like from Natick, I think.
Yeah, he's a local guy. He went overseas and was probably the most successful like European League coach, and comes over here to take over Cleveland before LeBron returns. Then LeBron comes in. They go to the NBA Finals where they get obliterated by a generational team. There's nothing to be ashamed about. And he's like, you know what, we need a bad backup point guard to take over control of this team instead of this guy. That's what we need. You want to know why? Because he's more my friend.
The Kobe step over.
Yep, yeah. It's just
R.I.P.
sad.
So we got 3 NBA, 1 NFL.
Yeah, I just have to go NBA. I mean, I like NBA the most, like I said, but like there's just so much star power. I feel like right now the NBA is like hitting a high point too, where it's like almost every team you look at, there's like they said, like dynamic duo. You know, and like with the hard news going, it's like almost every single team you watch, there's a star. If you're tuning into any NBA game, there's at least 1 or 2 stars, like whether it's Dame or whether it's Steph or like, you know, there's so much going on that it's like you can watch any game. Where like hockey, I love watching any random hockey game, but I'm like, there's guys where I'm like, I don't know who like half these players are, because like hockey, especially like I think it's really hard to get into the NHL, but like there's just so many like unknown guys where like they just, I don't know if that's because like the minor leagues are different or they don't like, there's a lot of like overseas guys, but
there's a lot of turnover.
We just have a lot of sports to watch in this, and good sports to watch in this country that NHL
You're gonna miss them all.
Yeah.
I can't imagine like
I love the NHL, but like, you know, you're not going to be able to watch all of it, and it gets tied in with other stuff. It doesn't make headlines. You can get some crazy NHL game that happens and you lose it underneath like someone that got a fucking, double, and you're like, that, okay, cool. You know?
Yeah.
Why is that the top headline and not the person that put up 4 goals on a goaltender that's put shutouts up like the entire season? What's going on?
That has to do with the media. We can get into that.
Don't drag me down that.
I don't know.
The media treats the NHL like the ugly stepchild.
Mm-hmm.
You said NHL or Donald Trump?
NHL.
Sorry.
Yes. They don't like either one of them.
Topic number 3. Who's up?
I mean, I guess I can go with topic number 3. My topic's a little kind of wishy-washy because it might include spoilers. You guys are probably all aware that like Netflix loves to release like crime dramas, real-time crime dramas. And this week here they released Night Stalker, about the killer in the 80s out in like California in LA. And so I just watched it. I binged. It's only like 4 45-minute episodes. It was really good. But my topic is actually, did internet and technology completely, this might be morbid, completely kill off the serial killer? Because you think back to like the 70s and the 80s, and I'm watching the show and I'm like, wow, there's like a lot of serial killers back then, and they're making national headlines. And now I'm thinking, like, how often do we see that? Someone who's killing multiple people randomly, or, you know, has a calling card or something like it. Like, it doesn't happen. Like, in the last 20 years, it really doesn't happen. It's like you get like terrorists and like, you know, bombers and stuff like that. But like, I'm like, the internet managed to just single-handedly, and text messages and face identification, single-handedly destroy a serial killer in America?
That's a good question. I'm glad you brought that up, Garrett, because I mean, yeah, with technology now, with like,
asking like,
what
no,
did you
these
say,
other,
Angel?
these other two topics, like, what the fuck compared to that one? Like, oh my god.
Well, like facial recognition and like fingerprints and like DNA is crazy. So like, first of all, obviously don't kill anyone. Like, no matter how mad
No,
you get
we're
at
not
someone.
condoning that.
Yeah,
Project
but like,
Potter not indoors.
it is crazy to me. Like, whenever I go for like a run, like in the summertime or whatever, and I go for a run like the woods or whatever, I always think like, and again, I just want to point out there that I've never like intended killing anyone. I've never thought like I'm not a killer, okay? But I've always like run and like been like, yeah, no one would find this body for like months. Like if you were to kill, like it's pretty much me like jogging, right? And I'm like, if someone were to come out of the woods and stab me right now and bury my body in these woods, like no one would probably find me for like a while. And I just like, serial killers are so fascinating because it's like the best ones, they'll kill like 10 or 12 people and like they won't get caught for like 30 years. And like you said, Garrett, maybe now it's changed with technology. Like I always think to like Making a Murderer, which is like the first like big Netflix thing that came out. But like that stuff is crazy. Like Jeffrey Dahmer comes to mind, and it's like cannibal serial killers, like all that stuff to me is like it's like crazy to think that like someone can think like I'm going to eat a person or I'm going to kill a person. It's like, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of dancing around your question, Garrett, but like, yeah, it's very hard now to like, because of all the technology and the security cameras and the iPhones and the DNA is everywhere. So like the FBI is going to get you, like, no matter what you do. Well, I guess we lost Nigel.
Well, yeah, my thing was just basically like, I was watching this documentary or whatever you want to call it, and I'm sitting there going like, I don't ever lock my door. Like I just don't. And I was like, no, not used to. I don't anymore. And like all of a sudden I thought about it. I'm like, realistically, this guy, like if someone was just out there, because this is what this guy did in this documentary. It was just basically like, if your door was unlocked, he'd just walk right in. And like you could be sleeping and he'll just kill you in your sleep, which is awful. But it's like I started thinking about it. I'm like, I don't even lock my door sometimes. Like what's to stop a random person from just walking in here? Like, and so it started getting me thinking. And then I was like, well, we live in a different age now. I was like, this is all in like the 70s and 80s, because I don't think these guys were afraid of getting caught. They were like, oh, if I'm just one step ahead of the police, I'll be okay. Like, because
there's no cell phones, there's no nothing.
Yep. So like technology, I think is really, but like also it's just, you don't see people doing it. You don't, or at least it's not in the news. It's like, it's, you don't see one person continuously murdering other people, which is great. But I'm like, what changed? Because there was like an epidemic from like the 60s to the mid 90s where every couple of weeks, like, especially in like LA and those areas, it's like someone was killing within 4 months, killing 12 to 13 people, and then finally either getting caught or just dying. And it's like, this is like, it's strange. And then all of a sudden it came to a screeching halt.
Yeah, I mean, so we know like other murders happen, obviously, like gang violence, mass murders, like stuff like that. But the prototypical serial killer, you're right, it hasn't happened in a while. And for me, thank God. I don't like scary movies because they typically don't scare me. But you give me a good serial killer, that will sketch me out, because that's fucking real. That's just a crazy, fucked up dude who has some sort of like autistic capabilities in his head to get away with all this shit. But he's so sick and twisted that he knows how to do it. He will do it.
They act normal. Think of like, American Psycho. Like
they're fine in public, and then at night they get this like hunger, and it's like, oh, there's only one cure.
Like that's what I mean. Like any of those movies that you can think about, like even like the cheesy ones, like Scream and like shit like that, like they're so cheesy. I know you did last time. Like, I'm thinking like the old school ones, the Halloween movies. Like, those are just people on a vengeance, and they're gonna kill you one at a time, and you're all gonna know he's coming, but there's nothing you can do. You can't run, you can't hide. He's coming. Like, that shit scares me more than like fucking zombies walking down the street.
Did you guys ever see I don't know if it was Get Out or if it was Scared. I think you've seen both, but like that scene, there's like a scene where they look out the window and there's like I think it's Us, where there's like four of them like standing in the driveway, and it's creepy as fuck, because I was like, oh, that would scare me. Like if I was like sometimes
it's just a father. Yeah, it's just a father going to like the sink to like wash his hands or do some dishes, and he looks out the window at his front driveway, and there's just 4 people standing at the edge of his driveway.
Kyle, Nigel's hopping back on.
Cool.
Nope.
Yeah,
you gotta accept him.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. Nigel should be back in a second. Yeah, that stuff. You know, my brother, when I go to my brother's house, I'm Nigel sideways now. I don't know what's going on there.
Mhm.
That's okay. Nigel, we're talking about serial killers still. So like when I go to my brother's house, their sink, there's a window right above the sink, and like you look out to the shed, and like every time I'm at the sink, I look out and I'm like, what if someone's just standing right there, like either in the shed or like someone's just standing there? I'm gonna freak the fuck out. Like I'm gonna be like, I don't know what's happening here, but I always, every now and then I'll think of like, what if someone's just standing there like they do in us, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, it's just kind of makes your skin crawl sometimes if you think about certain things.
Oh yeah.
So who has the final topic? Is that Nigel?
Yeah, I think that's me, right?
All right, rifle it off, big boy.
All right. So we go back to movies a little bit. Has anyone seen the last Wonder Woman?
Not yet.
No, I heard it was garbage.
I can speak about it till about 75% of the way through it when I fell asleep and then turned it off and moved on with my life.
Okay. So mine's the broader topic of what the hell is wrong with DC films compared to all of the MCU films we watch. So I finished Wonder Woman 84, and I didn't think it was bad, but I know a lot of people hated it, and I can completely understand why people hated it. So I want to know,
what would I rate it?
Oh, dude, I'll be honest, you probably would buy Hulk.
Makes Hulk look.
So just above reasonable. Guardians.
Better than Hulk or worse than Hulk?
It's on par with Hulk. Hulk might be better.
It's all how you look at it. It's really unfortunate. It wasn't a great movie. It didn't feel right. It didn't seem to fit well. And the biggest thing I will say is there haven't been a lot of films coming out right now, obviously because of COVID and everything like that. So it got hit hard by that. And on top of that, Wonder Woman, the first one, if you guys have seen it, is just so good that
I hated that movie.
Was a huge letdown. And it sucks because it had so much potential. I love the story arc they went for. I like some of the characters they put in there, but it didn't hit home. And that seems to be the norm for DC movies compared to all these Marvel movies we just reviewed.
Yeah, I'm texting Gal now. She said, I'm not happy about it either. I'll make it up to you, Daddy. So I don't know. She called me Daddy. I'm not sure. I'm not, the LA lingo. I don't know what that means, but she said she's going to make it up to me. So we're good, guys.
You can just add me in that group text, Vic, if you want.
One at a time. It kills me because I'm a huge superhero guy. I don't really know where it developed. I wasn't a big comic book kid, but I had some. Obviously, we just did Marvel and all of those, but I still like the Superman and like I still like Ben Affleck, but there's just something to hate about every movie. Like I don't know what it is. Who plays Superman in this set?
Henry Cavill.
Yeah. I liked him.
Who's already known for The Witcher over Superman.
Yeah, I haven't seen Witcher
yet. It's weird because you've seen a lot of these actors and actresses in other roles, and they're so good. So they can act. You know that they're great at what they do. And the formula is there. It's just there's something about every single movie, like you said, Vic, that you can pick out of it, and it's a big enough problem that you don't want to go back to it.
So is it the director?
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's like
directing, producing.
But how can you have that many bad directors? Because I agree, like every DC, like Aquaman is probably like the movie I enjoyed the most, but I still wouldn't. It doesn't hold a candle to any of the MCU, like the better MCU movies.
I think a big problem with DC is just crap. A lot of it's crappy CGI too.
Yeah.
They do not have good CGI compared to Marvel. Like their CGI comes off as like this is animated. Like that's what I hated about. I thought Aquaman was going to be great. when he debuted in, what was it, Justice League, and he didn't have his own standalone film, I was like, oh, this guy is going to be amazing. Like, he actually feels like Aquaman. And then he gets his own standalone film, and it's a bunch of CGI like sharks and fish just flying around with him, and it's obvious. And I immediately got turned off by that. I was like, all right, this doesn't look anywhere legit.
To your point, Garrett, the thing that sucks the most is like DC doesn't need as much CGI, in my opinion, as the Marvel Universe does. It does. It needs so much more. But DC, look at all of these shows they're putting out there for the CW and stuff like that that don't need huge production value on the like. I don't know.
And they're
if you guys
successful.
watch them. Yeah, so like
the storyline is good enough. Yeah, is Gotham part of that? Because I love Gotham.
Yeah.
Oh, you watch Gotham?
It's a different kind of level, but like it doesn't need these crazy messages. And so Megan and I have talked about this, and we think that it's unfortunate that DC lends itself far more to show more than movies and everything like that. Because like honestly, if you took Arrow and you tried to do all of the stuff, the character development, all that stuff that they've done in that, and break it down into, you know, a 3-hour film, which it's not going to be a 3-hour film, 2.5 hours. It wouldn't be the same, and it wouldn't be as good. I don't think you'd be able to. The story doesn't seem to lend itself to the big screen quite as well as other things. Like, I think that Christian Bale's Batman was able to nail it down, but that's kind of a standalone for me. Like, I don't see a lot of other DC films that really nail that down.
So when we talk about like
trilogy, doesn't even feel like part of the universe.
No,
right?
I know,
it feels like its own thing.
So good.
We've discussed this before, especially when we were reviewing Marvel and stuff like that. That's just a good. Any of those three, you put that up against top films, not just superhero movies, just films in general. That's high up there. Any of them. So.
Like for me, as far as the CGI though, like I really like. You think about Gotham. Gotham's always in anything. It's dark. It's gray, and you don't. And I agree with Nigel. These guys aren't like who's CGI. I mean, I guess Aquaman could have been a little bit better. But as far as in whatever the DC movie is with all Justice League, like you didn't really need too much, but they always play to like they're darker, grayer, not as graphical as Marvel does. So I think the issue is that Marvel movies are just so good and they're up here, and DC's just trying to compete with them, and we're comparing them too much. Because I do think the DC movies are good, but the CGI like lacks. I agree, but it doesn't need it. We're just comparing it to the other monsters.
Yeah,
it's crazy because it's two different styles where like Marvel is like bright colors, like think about like Ant-Man and Iron Man, like all that. It's like bright. It's kind of crazy. Did you guys ever see Joker? The new Joker was phenomenal. Did you guys ever see that?
I do enjoy that.
With Joaquin.
Again, I kind of like put that as a standalone because that just doesn't feel like part of that
like the universe.
Do you know how
it
worried
feels
I
like
am
its
that they're
own
gonna ruin
thing?
that? I'm so worried they're going to ruin that now, because like you put that into anything else DC related, like, are you going to fuck that up? Like, come on.
There's just so much going on, like with Suicide Squad 2, like that came out and then all of a sudden they spun off everything else, and Suicide Squad was garbage in my opinion. So, I mean, you had that Joker, now this Joker, the old Joker, you know, it's like, there's just so much on. Oh, and Jared Leto, you got
garbage.
The emo Joker.
Emo Joker. You know, it's just there's too much going on all at one time, and they're like crunching it together. Like, whatever I think Nigel brought up, the trilogy was so good. It needed more space. It really did.
Speaking of DC Universe, has anyone here even seen Birds of Prey?
No.
I forgot that even came out.
I want to see it so bad, but like, so there's actually several. I'll be honest, and so it makes me a little bit of a hypocrite. I'll admit it. But like, there are certain DC films I haven't seen because I'm like, that's such a good story that I have so many fond memories of from comics and other sources that I don't want to see, because I know how bad it is based on other reviews and just seeing all these other things past that. Like, I've seen more than just the trailer at this point for a lot of these movies, and I'm like, okay, it's exactly what I thought. It was like Suicide Squad's a perfect example. There's so many characters I love in that movie that I'm just like, I can't do it. And so many actors and actresses I love in that movie too, but like, I can't do it because like, I like you guys in so many other things, and this is such a good, like, they do Suicide Squad and Arrow, and it's so much better than the damn movie.
So Birds of Prey, 6.1 on IMDb, 78% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 81% on Google.
That's not
decent.
awful.
Yeah, maybe I will watch it. I think it's on HBO Max.
It's on HBO Max.
That's
Maybe
the
I
one
will.
that I think has some potential, just because it seemed like they went a little bit different from what they were doing before, where they went a lot more show based and they kind of tried to stay on what they were doing in that kind of universe, and like
I mean,
didn't
Harley
overdo it.
was like Harley Quinn was kind of the highlight
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
Suicide Squad. I mean, she played the character the best. Will Smith was okay. Jared Leto was awful in my opinion, but she played her character so well, like borderline iconic kind of. That's unspoken. I mean, every 4 girls on the block was dressed as her for Halloween.
Yep.
So I mean,
No,
it
she
hit the
did a
mark with
great
her.
job.
So this might be good. I'm gonna watch it. Maybe we review it.
You know what's crazy though is that like when you think of Marvel, you think of such a high like you think of Jon Favreau, and like no spoilers because I know Vic, you haven't seen Mandalorian season 2. You're crazy for not doing
I
that.
watched 2 episodes of season 1, so
Oh,
Oh
stick
my
with
God.
it. Season
Season
2
two
is
is a lot
really
better.
good.
So we're not
but-
gonna be able to do Mandalorian topic at all here.
you guys can.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Or,
that-
hold on,
we'll
no.
say okay,
That'll be when
that'll
Vic
my-
jumps
that'll
Ask
be
me what
my
we think about it, and
fallback.
I'll shit on it.
I'll
No,
do
stick
a fallback
with
on
it.
the 1 week where Vic can't be here. That'll be my topic.
Yeah. But no, John Favreau has like a huge part in that. So like he between Marvel and Mandalorian, he's like fucking peaking right now. It's just sad that we're like, oh, Birds of Prey is okay, so I might give it a shot. It's like we would never say that for an hour. If we saw an MCU movie and we're like, it's okay, we wouldn't be like, we'd be like, oh, we have to watch it for review or something. But like
I watched Guardians twice.
it's fair.
Okay,
it's a
so
tall
then
task.
let me bring it to this question. If we took away all of the last MCU movies having all 22 of them, we take those all out of the picture and stuff like that, do we think we'd be rating DC films way better?
Yeah, if we
Yes.
can't compare them.
Yeah.
If
Right.
that's all we had, yeah.
Well,
I'm
so
the
that's
best
what I'm
player in
saying.
the NBA if I'm the only one there.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest thing that's hurt the DC as far as films go. Now, don't get me wrong. So you finish all this DC lineup, the next year, all of the MCU starts dropping. I mean, you forget about the DC again. So
I already
think that's
forgot
what
about
happens.
it.
I just think that them trying to compete off of each other, it's not working right now. I think DC is just, and it could go the other way. If the MCU wasn't hitting on all cylinders right now, then we wouldn't be talking about them. So
Yeah, you know what DC does really well that I'll say as we kind of wrap up the show here, like DCU animated stuff is amazing. Like all their shit is good. Batman especially, like Mask of the Phantasm, stuff like that. Like that's all really, really good. DC kind of like they're like animated and shows, like that's kind of where they like make their bread, where it's like MCU is like movies, but now the MCU is also doing shows, which I think are probably gonna be really good. I think WandaVision comes out tomorrow,
That's
right?
tomorrow,
Let's
yeah.
see.
Yeah. So like we'll see how that
Definitely
is. But
gonna
like,
give that a try.
yeah, Falcon Winter Soldier though, I'm super excited for. So like it's
That'd be
kind of funny because DC was like, okay, well at least we have our shows, and now MCU is like, well, we have our shows too, and it's like if those hit, then it's like the MCU is just eating my lunch. But yeah, I think that's a good topic. It is crazy to see the divide because it's like the CGI is bad, and I agree with what you said, Garrett. But it's like, why is it bad? It's like, are you telling me that like the technology for DCU is that much different than like MCU? Or, like, is it just the direction? Does it follow the actors? Like, obviously the acting is better typically, but like, I don't know. It's hard because I think we all want to like. It would be great if we can get a great DCU and a great MCU. Like, if there was some balance there, that'd be great. But it's like, yeah, MCU and then DC was like way down here.
DC also lacks a lot of comic relief. It sometimes takes itself a little too seriously.
Shazam is probably the best example of that. Where Shazam was okay, but I'm like,
I haven't seen Shazam yet. I'll give that a try.
It wasn't
It's good.
Ragnarok.
yeah,
No.
Exactly. Ragnarok is, yeah, I would watch it 100 times more. So, but yeah, I think that's a good, that's our kind of wraps up our 4 topics here, guys. So thank you guys for joining us. This has been the pilot episode of The Last Resorts. We are the Last Resorts. Yeah, this has been our conversational podcast. This is Project Potter. Go like, comment, subscribe. Joined here by the crew. Hopefully weekly. We'll see kind of how this works, but weekly or bi-weekly at the worst, we'll kind of be posting these. So look out for these. And you guys got any outro? Or we didn't have an outro for MCU, so maybe we should get one.
Here's mine.
Well,
Bye. Just bye.
there you go.
I gotta
See
go
you
do
guys.
chores.
All right, later, guys.